I just want to apologize in advance. I didn't write this video. I didn't even do a light sort of rundown for this video. I knew it was going to make it the second the news dropped, but I decided that I just going to take some time to think about it and then just say what I have to say. Yesterday, we're running the bases. Ronald Acuna Jr. Went down with a non-contact knee injury, and it was revealed later that night that he had torn his left ACL. And I know that we live in an age where, ACL tears in sports are not a big deal, but they still are. I know we're a little bit desensitized, but these injuries still do drastically impact the athletes that suffer them, whether maybe in best case scenarios it's usually not career long anymore. But let's just talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. specifically. So I got into baseball around the time that Ronald got called up. When I started watching the Braves, Ronald was a rookie. I want to say Ozzie Albies was called up either earlier that year or the year before. I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but those were like my guys. Like at that point, everyone in Braves country, they were tied to Freddie Freeman, and I love Freddie Freeman. But, getting into the sport when I did, those were my guys. And Ronald is different because we've known since day one that this dude is a prodigy. I use that word a lot in the Kyle Busch video, but it's accurate here too. From the second he was called up, it was clear that there was something special about him. I know we throw around the 5-tool label, and I know nowadays people like to debate whether that is even true about Ronald, but at least when he was called up, Ronald was a true 5-tool player. He had everything. 2018 showed massive potential. 2019, I don't remember where he placed in NL MVP voting, but it was within the top 10 from what I remember. Won Rookie of the Year, had over 40 homers, almost went 40-40, and that was back before the bigger bases and the throwdown rule and the pickoff rule for the pitchers. And then 2020 is the weird COVID year. Ronald, I remember, he started slow, but he really picked it up as the year went on. And it all culminated in 2021 because I remember Chip Carey was the announcer for the Braves at that point, and he once described it, or he said, I don't know if I've ever seen Ronald this on everything, because through the first few months of 2021, Ronald Acuna Jr. was the best player in baseball. I think we forget that sometimes because of what happened, but that was Ronald's year. He was the standalone best player, at least in the NL, So I remember this day very vividly. It was early July, and the Braves were down in Miami playing a series against the Marlins, and I remember I was going on vacation. I was in Florida, I think Panama City, somewhere like that. And I remember gotten off the road, was ready to take a nap. So I took a nap, and then I wake up. My phone is blown up with texts and headlines. Ronald Acuna Jr. tore his ACL. And I remember the rest of that day and weeks and weeks and weeks after that, hyperfixating on that happening. Because first off, I felt like probably a lot of baseball fans did. I felt robbed of what was shaping up to be an incredible season from him. I wasn't even looking at it from the team perspective. We were struggling a little bit at that point. He was, truth be told, the one thing keeping us above water in 2021. But I couldn't help but sort of, even watching the way that he collapsed to the ground, I know it's not the exact same. It didn't look like a hop step or anything, but you always think of D Rose. When a young, transcendent athlete goes down with an ACL injury, you think D Rose. And I remember just for the next year after that, even as the Braves went on to win the World Series, it was, what's Ronald going to be? I at that point already kind of wondered, is he going to be the same? Is he going to look different? This, that, and third. So 2022 rolls around, and his recovery goes really well. But to be honest, in hindsight, it was definitely rushed. But Ronald returned against the Cubs. I want to say I think he returned in May. Maybe it was even late April. But point is, Ronald comes back, and he shows the flashes, and this happened for most of 2022, but he still struggled with the knee. He had other injuries pop up, but mainly just clearly he wasn't all there. But it wasn't I felt relieved almost by the end of the year because it was clear that it was starting to not bother him as much and that he was growing past it. I remember just looking at Baseball Savant and things like that and saying okay, he's hitting the ball hard, and sure, defensive metrics hated him at that point, and for the rest of his, the couple years leading up to this point, they still do. But I was I don't know. I started to kind of shake the worry. I was I think Ronald's going to be back in 2023. And look, I had fully bought in. I said, you know what, Ronald, I think he's going to win NL MVP in 2023. I had high hopes for him. I bought into the hype for Ronald Acuna Jr. I did not see 2023 coming. No way. I thought 40-40, I thought it was in play. Never could I have imagined 40-70. Unanimous NL MVP, definitively the best player in the NL. And everything about that year. I mean, Ronald cut his strikeout rate about 15% from his career norm. It was nuts, the type of run that he went on. He was literally the best version of himself. He was an incomprehensibly good baseball player. I know some people to this day will try and argue you and say that Mookie Betts was better. No, and I also know that some people are hung up on the fact that his defense isn't so great. I understand that. I understand if you don't want to call him a five-tool player, and I also understand people, taking the new rules and saying oh, well, was 70 really impressive? Yes, because if it wasn't, then why didn't everybody else do it? That's my point. I'm not trying to call Ronald Acuna Jr. Ricky Henderson, but with 20 more home runs worth of power. I'm just saying that Ronald Acuna is Mr. 40-70. So 2023 happens, and it feels like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The season ended in horrible fashion, losing to the Phillies in the postseason. But, at least with Ronald, I was okay, there's no more what if about 21 or even about 19 and 20 where he just didn't put it all together, and about 2022 where he was still coming back. He had a year fully healthy and lived up to his potential and then some. Get to 2024, and I'll just be blunt. Ronald did not look like himself pretty much all year leading to this point. Not getting on base at the same clip that he was, though he getting on base more than some people seem to realize. Not hitting for his high and average, striking out a lot more. Most notably, not hitting fastballs well, which reminded me of 2022, which is eerie based on what happened because in 2022 he was dealing with the knee injury still, and he couldn't get around on the fastball. And he looked like that a lot of this year until yesterday, or depending on when you're watching this, it's probably going to be 2 days ago when he goes down on the base paths. He sort of made a move like he was going to try and take third, but I think the catcher was getting ready to throw back to the pitcher, and he was hoping that maybe the catcher would lob it and do something, but basically he realizes he's not going to get that throw. He hard steps to turn around, and then boom, he collapses. And I get my hopes. Well, first off, heartbroken, but then hopes up, because Ronald himself, first off, walked off under his own power. Second off, said that the pain felt more similar to something he experienced in 2018 when he strained that left ACL. And that was like about a month recovery. And then, yeah, it's worst case scenario. He has now torn his other ACL. He tore his right one in 2021, and now in 2024, he has torn his other ACL. Ronald Acuna Jr., yeah, he'll come back in 2025. He will be playing on 2 surgically repaired knees. And now that Derrick Rose trajectory that I worried about back in 2021, that I thought, I didn't have to worry about anymore, it seems a lot more likely. Because Ronald started off the year, though he wasn't doing well at the plate relative to his standards, his defense was grading out better. But Ronald was in such a massive slump leading up to this point. The frustration was palpable. Like, I call it he needed to just put the controller down type of slump. Like, if you play an MLB The Show and you just can't hit anything, put the controller down. Like, that's how I felt Ronald was. And I almost hoped, that the knee injury, maybe could be something minor that would give him maybe a few weeks to decompress and help his mental health and come back. But now, obviously, there is no silver lining to this. I know people are going to throw out the 2021 team, they went on to win the World Series. I don't care. That's not a silver lining, man. Even if we do go on to win the World Series, baseball is getting robbed of arguably its most electric player for the second time in 4 years. Really, third time in 4 years if you count him not being fully healthy in 2022. I don't know what to do going forward. I hate to be the guy that goes, he's got to stop going to Venezuela and playing winter ball. I mean, it definitely took a toll because when he was down there, he played center field, which, by the way, is probably more his natural position, but still it's wear and tear on the body. He never stopped playing baseball from Venezuelan Winter League after 2022. I guess really the 2022 season. Since then, he's not stopped playing baseball. And I think maybe it finally caught up to him. And look, there are plenty of athletes that have had surgery on both knees or multiple surgeries on the same knee. I think of Rey Mysterio. I've had surgery 5 times on my left knee, but man, I'm worried. My heart is kind of shattered because for all the narratives that come out about this dude, he just wants to play baseball. That's all he wants to do. He just wants to play baseball and win. That's the other thing is people it's not like he's selfish. Like even during the slump, you see him actively supporting his team, and he always has. He played in 2022 knowing he wasn't playing up to his standards and knowing that he was hurting just to help his team. And he didn't rest on his laurels after going 40-70 last year. Losing in the playoffs clearly ate him up. So this is a guy that lives and breathes baseball, and he's getting that taken away from him again. And now we have to start entertaining the idea that maybe a piece of him as a player might go too. I don't know going forward what his workload would be. I don't know if maybe a position change is in order. I don't know if Ronald is going to be 40-70. I don't want to be dark, but I don't want Ronald to be Byron Buxton, man. And that's no diss at Byron Buxton. He's a fantastic player when he's healthy. But we're just starting to reach the point of... And look, there is a world where Ronald comes back from this thing and never suffers another major injury, right? It's starting to look unlikely. And that's not his fault. That's no one's fault. It's just that sports are cruel, man. This world is cruel. No, I just had to get on here and talk about Ronald for a minute because, again, it's not the same watching games without him. It wasn't in 2021. It won't be this year. But hopefully the Braves rally, do this thing for him. I mean, it's another major injury. We've lost our ace, Spencer Strider, and our superstar, Ronald Acuna Jr., now both down for the year. But the implications are much bigger than that. In fact, both of them are on their second major surgery. You know, Spencer's dealing with his arm, and Ronald's now his other knee. So all I can do and all we can do is pray for the absolute best for both of them, but in this video specifically for Ronald. And, yeah, just thanks for watching. I've been Will from MNS, signing off.